welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 107. I'm your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I have just the one bean on the line with me. How's it going tonight, Chewy?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, really good. And welcome back. You've missed the last couple. You've been a very, very busy Skaven, and
yes.
It's good to have you back. Cracker did a bang-up job last couple of weeks, and
certainly did. Always does a good job, and yeah, very, very glad to be back. And had to double check the episode number. I was like, oh yeah, actually, I've missed a few of these, so try and remember how to do the intro and how to speak in a proper, clear podcasting voice. That's
we're
slightly
107
different to my normal
episodes
one.
in, and I haven't figured that out yet. So yeah, but,
You haven't figured out how to say two sentences without saying 5 times, so we're still
No,
getting
I haven't
there.
figured out how to limit it to just 2 sentences is mostly my issue. But Cracker got his keys, so he is moving. So he'll be recording from the new location in the coming weeks. So hope the move's going well, mate.
Stu posted a photo of him packing boxes into a shed somewhere. So yeah, half the beans are out of commission at the moment, just through the process of moving house. But next week may be a little bit different. We'll touch on that at the end of the podcast.
Spoiler alert.
A little bit of foreshadowing, and what was he gonna?
Did you just announce?
Put the bait out there.
You just announced that we're going to have an announcement.
I did. Yes.
You've gone away for 2 weeks. Did you do a 2-week internship at Watsy? Is that what you think?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks of learning how to do exactly that.
Yeah. Okay. Be interested to see what the second semester is.
Yeah. It's how to make broken cards.
How to make Oko. Yeah.
All right. So, we've got just a few things to talk about tonight, but one of them is quite a large topic. You guys recorded the podcast last week, and then I think the very next morning there was a giant announcement that has a pretty substantial impact on the world of Magic and
custom draft pods.
Specifically Arena. No.
Oh.
Unfortunately it was not. We will get into that as well, but before we get into any of that, do you want to tell us about our awesome sponsors?
Absolutely. My favourite part of doing the cast each week is talking about the great people at Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. They're a Facebook auction group where they have nightly auctions for physical Magic cards. You can just jump on, place a bid, outbid your friends. You can pick up some absolute bargains. I saw Pat did his usual thing with a couple of hours to go where he posts the price difference between, what the things are going for retail, and there was some, pretty spicy cards going for like half price or 2/3 of the asking price. So you can pick up some absolute bargains over at jpmtgbazaar.com.au. That'll link you straight to the Facebook group. You can get bidding, and when you do win an auction, tell them that the beans sent you.
Very good. Now, you did mention a couple of things in that. You said outbid your friends, but I think, playing Magic for quite a long time, you pick up not so much enemies, but sort of some, nemesises and things like nemesi, that's probably the word. People like that you're like, oh, that person beat me in the last tournament I played. That's exactly who you want to be outbidding on Josh and Pat's. Jump on there, find those people, and just outbid them. Just do the dollar trick, and just get that really sweet revenge on someone who probably has no idea who you are that they randomly beat you at a tournament. But
the problem is, if I did that,
either way.
I've lost so many tournament matches. I'd go broke.
You'd be bidding on everything.
Yeah.
And the other thing with Josh and Pat's, I don't know if he's got any left, but Pat put up a video last week, I think it was, for some holiday bundles that he was doing. He boxed up 100 boxes with some sleeves and some random packs.
There's a
collector's
collector
boosters.
booster.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, definitely. And was putting them up for sale. Did 100. I think they sold out like within an hour or something like that. And then he's put some more up. So I'm not sure if there's any of those left, but jump onto the Facebook group, check those out. Perfect gift to give someone for Christmas, and
I'd love to get
make a nice surprise for them.
Yeah, I got to the tree. It's only a couple of weeks away, by the way. It's like
it is
just
not
over
long,
2 weeks
no.
to Christmas. Yeah,
Yep,
and
yep.
I'd love to get that. I'm going to be like looking under I'm expecting one Jen, if you're listening. So
I did see Jen comment on that post, so you never know.
Ooh,
but
okay.
Another thing I've seen people doing a few posts in our Discord is the Advent calendar. You remember the Advent calendars you had as a kid? My kids have got them at the moment.
Got some with the chocolates. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So people doing those with magic cards. So some people doing them with like a booster per day, and other people doing random cards, or some days you get a basic land, some days you get a rare. But yeah, some pretty cool ideas out there. So if you've got any other ideas for that sort of thing that you and your friends or your family or whatever do through the Christmas period, let us know, because that sort of stuff's pretty cool, and that's something I never would have thought of. But now it's like, oh, maybe I'll set that up next year and give myself some nice Christmas surprises each day of December.
Maybe we can Magic Beans brand it and put it on our merch store. Who knows?
Well, yeah, we can sell magic advent calendars, or maybe we can get Pat onto it.
Yeah. That's it. I like it.
Yeah, very good. All right, so the first topic we're going to get into this week, before we get into the main one that probably everybody knows what we'll be talking about, we had a set championship this weekend, Chewy. Did you? Well, I think you guys mentioned on the podcast last week, but did you get a chance to catch any of it on the weekend?
Yeah, listening to Cracker tell me about it on the podcast last week was the first I'd heard about it. Great job pumping up your premier event there, Wizards.
Yep.
But I did, over the course of the weekend, we were sort of in and out and catching up with people and such, but still a little bit of downtime where I managed to park myself in front of the PC and watched a few random matches. I think I probably watched 5 or 6 matches total. Every single one of them included 1, if not 2, Izzet decks.
Yep.
But every single one that I watched also included Cedric Phillips, who is quickly becoming my favourite non-Magic Beans commentator. So he's always
who is your favourite Magic Beans commentator?
Given the drive-by I gave Ty's last week, I think I better say Ty's is my favourite. And but honestly, if I have to pick out of the Beans, I love Disco Stu, because he's so surprised and excited when people do stuff like, and you or I may have seen the line, but he's still a relatively new Magic player, and he'll see something new and he'll be like, or you could just do that and that's going to win you the game. So I play a little mini game with myself, listening to Stu each time to sort of rack up how many times that happens, and that's really entertaining as well. It's good fun.
Yep.
Very good. It was good. The coverage is getting better, honestly. Like some of the Wizards coverage over the last few tournaments and through lockdown and such was, not as good as we'd come to expect from their coverage, but they've stepped it up a notch, and, probably, other online tournament organisers have had a bit of an influence on them, and they've realised that they can't just have somebody sharing a Discord. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, phoning it in, exactly. So they've ramped it up, and the coverage was quite good. They had the advantage bar going and the key cards, and they had one of the pros. I can't remember his name. He won the SCG event a few weeks ago. He's the brother of the other guy.
Corey Baumeister.
Corey would read out the key cards for each deck as part of their filler, and a few things like that, which were cute. So I enjoyed the coverage, but as I said, it was just a lot of blue and red mana facing off against each other, which is interesting if you're a fan of the control mirror, but there was a few too many of them, I guess.
Yeah. So you can watch a bit of that, but after you've watched it 15 times in a row, it's not the most exciting thing. So speaking of that, we do have the metagame breakdown, so we'll have a bit of a look at that, and starting at standard. So the event was standard and historic, and then the top 8 was also historic. So they played a split of standard and historic each day, and on the first 2 days, and then the third day was only historic. So in standard, 38.1% Izzet Epiphany, followed by mono white on 20%, and then mono green, and then a sharp drop off from there. But I mean, straight up 38% Izzet Epiphany. That's a that's a pretty high percentage.
But that's
it's
not actually the true story, though, is it? It's not the full picture.
No, so like 38%, around 40% is not abnormal in standard. You know, if we saw that percentage in something like modern, we'd be going, whoa, that is a huge percentage.
Something's
but
wrong,
standard,
right?
Standard, it's high, but it's not too bad. But Wizards have gotten a little bit creative, like we did ourselves for the for the Invitational. They've split up a few of the Izzet decks, and when you actually add up all the Izzet decks that are not that different to each other, as well as, you know, there's Grixis decks and Jeskai decks and those sorts of things that are pretty much the same. They're just sort of splashing for a couple of cards. You actually end up at about 50%. And that is a lot. I don't think we've seen that for quite a while. So when half the field is Izzet-based decks, it's no wonder that you're seeing mirrors all day long. So not ideal, and probably not what Wizards wants.
No, not at all. So especially when they're in the hands of, you know, some of the best players in the world, that means that they're going to be at the top tables.
Yeah.
And that they're the ones that they're going to cover. They're going to cover, you know, the undefeated players to build the drama of who remains undefeated. They're not going to go and look at two players randomly in the middle of the field just because, you know, it's Jund Treasures versus, you know, Mono Red or something slightly more interesting. But
yeah,
it's
we like sort of looking at the deck lists. You know, we've got the decks that we expected to see and the decks that we saw at our Envy. You know, Izzet decks, mono white, mono green, Orzhov Control, a Jund base deck, which is a sort of the Jund Treasures deck. There is a few sort of looking at the actual breakdown. You've got some like Dimir and zombies and vampires decks and a few things like that, but they are a very, very small percentage of the field. So not probably, you know, Crimson Vow did not have the effect on standard that Wizards was expecting it to have, and it's a bit of a shame to have a set that is, you know, two sets that have just come out, the werewolf set followed by a vampire set, and have neither of those tribes represented at your Crimson Vow set championship. So yeah, not ideal. Or actually Innistrad set championship. I think this was the set championship for both, and they've just sort of combined them together. So yeah, probably not that good.
Yeah.
Looking over at Historic, we've got a much more diverse metagame in Historic, which is good to see, and that's kind of what you expect with the bigger formats, like you get in Modern as well. Like we've got 16% of Selesnya Humans, 13% Izzet Phoenix, 10% Heliod Company, and then it sort of, you know, drops off from there. And then something that's really cool to see is 23% is other decks, which tells you that there is just so many random decks that are getting played in this field, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, that's a sign of a healthy format, and that's the sort of, as you said, that's the sort of thing we see in modern events. And, you know, you get modern events that are at the local level, and we've had it at our local. You'll get, you know, 20, 22 players, and you'll get 18 or 19 unique decks. And that's if you play in you know, and that scales, right? It throughout, whether it's a league on Magic Online or, you know, if there's a modern Grand Prix or whatever it might be, you know, there's, or the SCG, there's not often, you know, 30% all of the same deck. And if there is, they swing the banhammer, which, you know, they've become much more, comfortable in doing over recent years out of necessity, but they've realized that,
yes,
you know, it's not the negative that they once thought it was. So, but all that being said, I think Historic looks really good. I mean, Izzet Epiphany is also a deck in Historic, which is, you know, in itself, you know, a mild concern, but it's only like 3.5%. So I don't know how good it actually is. Like, more people played, you know, Jund Citadel. So
yep.
Yeah, it's and yeah, the Selesnya Humans, which I'm assuming is a collected company deck, and it's got
collected company. You know, it's just got Thalia. It already had a bunch of humans. Like, it already had Thalia's Lieutenant and a lot of the modern cards that we see in the Humans deck. And now adding to that Thalia just sort of makes the deck even better. So not surprising to see that up there. Izzet Phoenix has been good for ages. You know, we've still got Faithless Looting in Historic. So just pairs perfectly with the bin chicken. The Heliod Company deck is a combo deck. I don't know if you've seen the combo with Scurry Oak and Heliod, where you can make an infinitely large Scurry Oak and make an infinite number of tokens and gain an infinite amount of life, I believe, in Historic. So,
so there you go. So
that's a good one.
Interesting because they very quickly banned the Walking Ballista, right?
Well, they banned Walking Ballista in Pioneer. They never printed it into Historic because they when they did the
Kaladesh Remastered.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but they it was an obvious card that they left out,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the reason why. And then we got a whole bunch of cats getting put in ovens again, which is not surprising because that deck is still good in Historic. So
Golgari and Jund and the Meat
yep.
Hook Massacre featuring just as an extra engine card as well. So
yep.
I like that, and I know you've played a lot of that archetype, so that just seems like doubling up on effects seems like a good thing, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, yeah, by playing the Golgari version means the reason you play the Jund version is so you can have the Mayhem Devil, so you get those pings on the in and out from the cat with the oven. When you've got Meat Hook Massacre, you don't need to worry about the red because the Meat Hook Massacre effectively works like the Mayhem Devil. It's obviously not quite as good because you can't shoot down creatures and things like that, but
it's still good at winning the game.
Every time you sacrifice a cat and then bring it back again, your opponent's losing 2 life and you're gaining 1 life and things like that. So yeah, it still works quite good.
Death of 1,000 cuts, I like it.
Yes. Death of 1,000 scratches from a black cat.
Yep. Like an abscess as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds nasty.
But so we saw Yuki Ichikawa take it down, playing Golgari Food in Historic, and then the Is It Epiphany deck in Standard. So congrats to him. But I think the big storyline from the weekend was that the team that Yuki Ichikawa was on, a Japanese testing team, all 4 of the players in that team all made top 8. So they were all running the same Golgari Food deck and all running Is It Epiphany in Standard, and all 4 of them made the top 8, which is pretty nuts. I don't know, from sort of listening to other podcasts, I don't know if that's ever happened before, a testing team putting 4 people into a top 8 of
a very
pro tour type.
Yeah, back in the day, back in the Finkel's, Bob Marr type days, way back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was fairly commonplace. Yeah. And then the last time I really remember seeing it, this may be wrong because it's the time that comes to mind, is when the Channel Fireball team played the colourless Eldrazi deck in Modern.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so it's it may have happened since then, but that's the last time that springs to mind. But yeah, it's but all 4 is pretty crazy. So
yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. So very defined meta, and
but yeah, you look at the Historic deck that they chose, what we were just talking about, the Golgari Food, the other top decks in Historic are all creature-based decks, and when you're running 4 main deck Meat Hook Massacres and a bunch of cats that can just continue blocking for ages, Shambling Ghast to take creatures like Thalia out, and your the Ravenous Squirrels, which get really quite big pretty quick, you're definitely set up to beat down on those creature-based decks. So not surprising that they did well with that deck in Historic, and then obviously they were just playing the best deck in Standard. I don't know if their lists were different to other people's lists, but they had a good deck for Standard, and then a very good deck for Historic.
So looking at the top 8 metagame, so there's the 4 Golgari Food decks. Yep. There's 3 Is It Phoenix, 1 Jeskai Creativity, and a Selesnya Humans. So, as you said, it was a lot of creature decks there. Even the Phoenix decks, even though they can kind of have an instant speed bin chicken, you can still do your cat thing. And yeah, it's really well set up. Right choice, obviously played well. Having the right deck is one piece of the puzzle, but you got to pilot it. And yeah, they broke it. And well done, and well done to Yuki for taking down the set championship.
Yep. They're also playing in the Golgari food deck, playing 2 Soul Guide Lanterns main and 2 more in the sideboard. So definitely well set up for dealing with those bin chickens.
Yeah, and the Jeskai Creativity deck uses the graveyard as well. So
Yep.
Yeah, good on them. I watched a couple of Christian Hauck's games with Mono Green in Standard, and very, very good pilot. And a name we haven't seen in a top 8 for a little while, actually saw a lot of them in front of the camera in recent years, is Simon Gertzen. So, proving that they've still got it. So well done to Simon for coming back and getting into a top 8 in a really, really stacked field. So, can play.
Also,
well done.
Yeah, Zachary Keeney is a name that I definitely recognise from SCG events when those existed. So, well done to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I was to jump on the historic queue now, I'm just going to play against Golgari Food all day, aren't I? What beats it?
Yeah, probably.
What beats it?
What beats Golgari Food? I have no idea.
You want to play Karavik and just permanently give all the creatures -1?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, I guess. they're a black deck, so yeah.
You can still bring your cat back from the graveyard. It just dies immediately, but you still get triggers and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Historic's sort of, we've spoken about it before. Historic is very similar to Modern in the size of it now and the diversity in decks and all that sort of thing. And it's now become one of those formats where you need to have a reason to be paying attention to it. And, most of the events that we've been running recently have been standards, have been paying a lot of attention to that. So I haven't really looked at Historic for ages, but it is quite a cool format, and it's something I would definitely be keen to play some more of. Cause it seems like you can, you could look at that metagame and go, okay, all right, now I'm going to brew something up that's going to do well in that metagame and find those small 1 of and 2 of cards that you put in your main deck that sort of help a few matchups and shake things up a bit. So, very, very cool format that, back when it first came out, we thought it was not going to go anywhere, and that may be a foreshadowing for what we're about to talk about next. But, very cool to see a bit of diversity there. And the other thing to point out, you guys spoke about Worlds, I think. Well, it might have even been a podcast that I was on. We spoke about Worlds a few weeks ago. The top 6 players from this event have all qualified directly for Worlds. One of those players is Yuta Takahashi, who was the recent world champion. So he's already qualified and now has got his second qualification, I believe, for Worlds. So,
does that pass down or he's just locked it up?
I don't think so. I think they've changed how they're doing it this year. But I'm not exactly sure.
Because there's
who knows? It's
risk of
it's confusing.
Yeah, who knows if we're going to have Worlds the way Wizards go. But yeah, it's, cause, odd number, right? So, I wonder if they'll just have a broader qualification later in the season, or whether that would pass down to 7th place. But yeah,
not sure.
We'll have to figure that out.
Cool.
But yeah, I think it's great. Just before we move on from this top 8, I also watched a little bit of the ESL event this weekend. Our very own Azzy G made top 4 with, wait for it, Red Black Vampires.
Nice.
And won through to the top 8 pretty comfortably. Rode his luck a little bit in the quarterfinals, but then got the absolute nightmare matchup in the top 4 and couldn't quite get there. But shout out Azzy G if you're listening. Solid performance, and the second time I think they've got a second place and a top 4 in recent times. So can magic. So keep it up. Anyway.
Yeah. Actually, while you're mentioning that, the recent ESL events have only been getting around 30 players per event, which is a fair drop-off from the first couple that they ran. Their prizes are still really good. There's still a lot of cash and boxes and things like that up for grabs. So I believe there's one this weekend and maybe even one next weekend. So if you've forgotten about those events, jump in and play it, because with such a small field, it's a good chance to try and spike an event, get into their finals, and then pick up some good prizes. So keep an eye out for that for all of our Australian and New Zealand listeners. Okay, so we mentioned it earlier on in the podcast that after you guys recorded last week, there was a huge announcement And the announcement is that, as you said, Chewy, we've got draft pods. You know, we can draft with our friends and all
it's going to be awesome. We'll have a Beans event. I can't wait for Arena Cube. I'm so pumped for this.
No, that's not what it says. No, sorry. There was the Draft Arena Open. Okay, hang on. Let me read. Pioneer. Pioneer is coming this week to Arena. No, hang on. It's not that either.
Is it modern?
No. Okay. Okay. Apparently there is a new digital-only format called Alchemy. Have you heard of this, Chewy?
Isn't Alchemy the Netflix show about Dota?
No, that's Arcane, and that's League of Legends.
There you go. Dota, League of Legends.
Yeah, there is actually a Dota cartoon as well that's on Netflix. I saw it popped up in my thing the other day. But
there you go.
No, we have out of absolutely nowhere, we have a new format on Arena that's causing some controversy. Is probably an understatement, I guess. But yeah, this was their big announcement. It came out the day after you guys recorded last week, and new format called Alchemy. And so, what this is standard, same card pool that we have in standard, all the same sets that are legal in standard. But what they're doing is they're effectively doing away with the ban list. We still have a few cards left on the ban list, and they are rebalancing those cards instead, which we've spoken about before. They did some rebalancing in Historic with some of the digital-only cards that they printed into Historic recently. So they're rebalancing a few cards, some of the ones on the ban list, but also a few other cards. So cards like Seeker's Chariot and Alron's Epiphany and Goldspan Dragon, you know, the cards that everyone talks about potentially banning. And then they're also adding in 63 new digital-only cards into this format. So it's standard, but it's, I guess, what they want to term fixed standard with some extra stuff. What's your... I know what your first impressions of this are, but give us your first impressions.
We've seen... They ran like one of the little events, you know, one of the like little arena things that runs for a week or so, where they, they made... What was that 7-mana 2/3 that stole something?
That one.
Yeah.
The human that you could get off Winota and
randomly.
Agent of Treachery.
Agent of Treachery, yeah. So they've I guess this is that next iteration of, you know, slowly transitioning Magic to a digital only game, which is kind of, you know, maybe I'm a bit doomsayer here, but that seems to be the direction it's going, and sure.
You're just a boomer, Chewy.
I'm just a boomer. I just like my physical Magic cards and going into a store and engaging with the community. But it's I don't know. I'm not excited by this at all. It's just standard that, you know, they've fixed or tried to fix certain cards. Does it change the metagame? Is it different enough? Is it innovative enough? Is it exciting enough? Or is any of these 63 cards spawning new archetypes that are going to be new tier 1 decks? Or am I just going to rock up and play mono white and farm people trying to do quirky stuff? Or, you know, like, I don't know. It seems like a step in their overall strategy long term. So, you know, happy that they've got a strategy, because, you know, sometimes we question whether or not they do, but so it's good to see that. But this as a product, I'm probably not gonna play it. I'm not so... I would need to be convinced to play it. So yeah, like the current standard metagame doesn't excite me at all. My Magic time over the last little while has been, you know, tuning and brewing commander decks, and I'll play twice a week maybe on ladder just to accrue some gold. But, you know, I made Mythic 2 seasons ago, made my way through to Diamond last season, like well into Diamond, didn't quite make it to Mythic because I was enjoying the decks that I was playing, and now it's just kind of a bit stale, and, you know, 50% is at Epiphany, and that's reflected on the ladder as well. And, you know, I've kind of lost interest in it. So I was like, oh, something new, this will be good. And it's like, oh, it's just standard, but they've made Epiphany cost a bit more, and a Seeker's Chariot only makes 1 cat now. It's not enough for me on face value to get me excited about it. So maybe I need to play it.
Well, can I interest you in being able to cast lightning bolts in standard? How does that sound?
If I can put 4 lightning bolts in a deck, maybe. But if I have to roll randomly off a spell book,
no. So they've previewed some of the new cards, the 63 new cards that they're going to be putting into Alchemy. And there's a card called Torolf's Disciple. It's 2 and a red for a 3/3 with haste. Yep, I'm fine with that to start with. And it has, whenever it attacks, conjure 4 cards named Lightning Bolt into your library, then shuffle. So every time it attacks, you're shuffling 4 lightning bolts into your library. This is obviously a digital-only card, seeing as it is using this the conjure mechanic, which we've seen before, where it's just plucking the cards out of thin air and creating new cards. They're not tokens; they're actual lightning bolt cards. But yeah,
so
we're getting funky things like that.
A good mono red card, that's good, and yeah, you're excited by that. So you attack the first turn, you get 4. If you get a second attack, you add another 4, etc., etc.
Yep. Yeah. So you every time it attacks, you're increasing your chances that you're drawing a lightning bolt, which is
it's great design.
It's
really
amazing,
good
but
design.
really cool. Yeah. So, anyway, let's have a bit of a more of a look on what it actually is, and then I might give you some of my thoughts on the format. So yeah, this will release, I believe, like tonight. So we're recording this Thursday night of the 9th of December, and I think the update is on the 9th of December American time, so it should happen tonight for us. And it will be live. It will be a new queue, so you'll have the option to play standard and historic or alchemy. They are, with the update, they are changing Arena's layout a little bit, what they call the play blade, which is the when you click on the play button where it shows up what format you're going to pick and things like that, which is something they really have struggled with for quite a while. Like as they added more and more formats to Arena, that list just got longer and longer and longer, and it was like, what do I actually want to play? I don't know what I'm meant to be playing. So
yeah, it's kind of the equivalent of putting an icon on your desktop and then their desktop's
and then going, where the hell's that icon?
Yeah, so now they've added some folders effectively.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it will be a live format, and like I said, it'll be standard. All the current sets, current cards legal in standard. If you already own those cards, you already own them for Alchemy, as well as the cards that are coming off the ban list that will be rebalanced. Again, if you already own those cards, I own a playset of Omnaths and things like that, which are banned, and I did get my wild cards refunded for those Omnaths. And now they will be back, and I will still have access to those Omnaths in the new versions. Any card, say, as an example, is Seeker's Chariot or Elrond's Epiphany that is rebalanced in Alchemy, you will have access to the normal version, the standard version, and the rebalanced version. So there's no issues there. And then there will be the 63 new cards. Now, it looks like, I haven't seen it actually confirmed, but it looks like most of the new cards are going to be rares and mythics, which is obviously, again, causing some controversy in terms of soaking up people's wild cards. But one thing they're doing is they're releasing new packs that you can buy. And from what I understand, they're going to be releasing these packs a few weeks after a set releases. So you'll have, new set will come out. So we've got Neon Dynasty, Neon Destiny. I can never remember which one it is. The new
Dynasty.
Kamigawa set.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the next set that comes out, I think, in February next year. The set will come out. You'll be able to buy the regular standard packs. And then I believe a few weeks later, they will then release Alchemy packs that are Alchemy packs of the Kamigawa set. And so the rare and mythic card in that, or mythic card in that pack is more likely to be one of the new cards that are being released, that sort of thing. It's a way to go, okay, which format do I prefer to play? Which packs do I want to buy? And those packs will be available on the store for the standard price, like 1,000 gold for a pack, or you can buy them with gems and all that sort of thing. You can buy bundles of the packs as well, like you can with normal cards. So, it's going to be, it gives people the option to, buy the packs for the formats that they actually want to play, which is good. No, can't draft it. Yeah, you can just purchase the packs like normal packs, which is something we haven't seen from Wizards before. So like with Historic, you couldn't buy Historic packs. Jumpstart, you couldn't buy the Jumpstart packs, which was, you had to play Jumpstart to get those cards and that sort of thing. So it's good to see them doing that. They're obviously still not.
It would be good if I would have liked to been able to just buy Jumpstart packs and not just have to play in the event. But I would have also liked, why couldn't they have had a draft queue of this or sealed like they would at another event? So now I have to spend. I can't just, I have to spend wild cards or I have to buy packs. I can't. The best way to build your collection is to play limited. So yeah, it's a little bit of barrier to entry there in my mind.
Yeah, you'll still be able to get all the normal standard cards in normal standard packs and in drafts and all those sorts of things. It's just the extra cards, and I don't know how often. They're obviously doing 63 now. I don't know if it's going to be 60 extra cards per set. Like that's going to be a lot of cards that are going to come out if you're adding an extra 60 cards per set into standard. That's a lot. So I'm not sure. I haven't seen details or heard anybody talking about whether that's going to be the case. So if it's just these 63 cards that they're adding for now, and then maybe like next rotation or in a year's time they're going to add some more, then that's fine, because you just, you're crafting the cards that you need and you're not crafting the ones you don't need. So it's not really any different to playing Historic and that sort of thing. They're obviously still not adding the capability to like dust cards or anything along those lines. So people are still complaining about that, but is what it is, and I wouldn't be expecting that to happen anytime soon. Wizards have obviously taken that stance from very early on with Arena, and are unlikely to change that. The other sort of thing to point out with this is because every card that's printed on Arena goes into Historic, the rebalanced versions of the cards will also be going into Historic. So if you play Historic currently with the Seeker's Chariot, it is the normal Seeker's Chariot that we have in Standard. As of tonight, when the update happens, a Seeker's Chariot in Historic will be the new version, which, as Chewy said, it only gives you one cat instead of two, but it also, the crew cost is reduced down to two as well. So, again, heard people complaining about that because they're saying, well, the card's not currently too powerful in Historic, and you're nerfing it in Historic and sort of making it less likely to be played and things like that. But I guess with the digital only format, and once cards then rotate out of Standard, they can then look at rebalancing them back or updating them, that sort of thing. So they've said in their article they're going to be looking at rebalancing things roughly once a month to start with. I know, like when Pioneer first came out, they were pretty heavy on the banhammer in Pioneer for the first few months, just to sort of try and find an even playing field, and then they sort of backed off after that. So I would expect to see the same thing in Alchemy. First few months we'll get a bunch of changes, and then it might sort of even out after that.
I'm still not convinced, Shorty. Why should I play
it? So I was pretty similar to you when I first saw the announcement. I was like, oh, okay. Like we did exactly the same thing with Historic when that first game. I was like, okay, it's just a format for when your cards rotate out of Standard. You've got a format that you can play, but it's unlikely people are going to play it and whatever. And then slowly, Historic became a good format, and now it's actually a really good format, and
Wizards also threw a lot of support behind it. It became part of the Premier play. We've just seen Historic in the latest set championship.
Yeah, the same thing is happening with Alchemy. So they've announced there will be an Arena Open in the near future that will be Alchemy, and I believe that they've said somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it or heard it, but I believe that one of the set championships in the near future will also be Alchemy. So they're definitely supporting it like they have with Historic. So yeah, my initial thoughts was, okay, yeah, whatever, it's just another format. If I don't have to play it, I don't really care about it. We can sort of discuss. I guess we can get into that soon, but as you mentioned before, that sort of separation between paper and digital play and what sort of effects that's going to have on the game long term. But as I've listened to podcasts this week, so as everyone who listens knows, I listen to a lot of Magic podcasts because I spend pretty much all day, every day in the car. And I've had the benefit of having pretty much a full week of people's opinions to listen to. And one thing I came to realise after listening to this, I thought, okay, people are just going to keep playing standard. Why would they play this different format? And then I had that realisation that the whole purpose of this format is to fix standard, to rebalance standard, to rather than banning Aaron's Epiphany, to make a small adjustment and make it so that it's not 50% of a metagame, it's 10 to 15% of a metagame. So when you look at it that way, when you're going, okay, the purpose of this is to make standard more playable, more balanced, so you can play more decks, more diversity, why would you ever actually play standard again? Because Alchemy is going to be the format where you can play the cards that you want and have deck diversity and not play the same matchup 10 times in a row in ladder, whereas standard is still going to be stuck in exactly the same place and will never change. As soon as standard is solved, it is solved, and there's very little churn and very little innovation. Whereas Alchemy is going to be constantly changing, cards are going to be constantly getting balanced. It's always going to be new and exciting and more diverse. And so once you sort of look at it that way, yeah, you kind of go, okay, well, I think maybe I won't actually play standard anymore. I think if I'm playing Arena, I'm more likely to play Alchemy so that I can actually have fun games. And then once people make that change, they're just not going to go back to standard. And standard on Arena is going to become really only a format where people play it to test for standard events. So my mind was definitely changed through the week, and I am very firmly in the camp now that Alchemy is going to be the new premier format for Magic, for any arena-based events, because Wizards gets to, like we saw with this set championship, you're never going to see a set championship like that again with a boring, stale standard format with no new decks. It's always going to be Alchemy with balanced formats and balanced cards and a new exciting format so that it showcases what's happening in Magic. So, like, how does that sit with you, like having heard that explanation from me?
It's a good point. It is. I've got issues with it, but my issues with it aren't going to change. Aren't going to change it. And as I said, it's obviously part of the broader strategy, and that strategy is basically, this is a death knell for paper Magic, right? So this is yet another nail in the coffin, and there's an emotional part of me that is sort of railing against that. But if I can put that aside, I can go. It's good that, I was complaining about the metagame because I just was, not that I find Is It Epiphany that egregious. It's just boring to play against the same thing over and over again. So it's a good thing that, the format gets more balanced, but whilst we're in this transition period, people are going to be uncomfortable with it, and I'm going to draft a card and I'm going to go back, oh, that's a great card. I really want to put that in my deck. And then I'm going to go to put it in my deck and it's like, it's completely different now, right?
Yep.
So as I said, the best way to accrue cards into your collection is to play limited when a set comes out. Like, you jump on and play a bunch of sealed and draft. And the way that I interact with the arena economy is actually impacted here, because what I normally do is I play a bunch of ladder and I get a bunch of gold, and then I use that gold to enter drafts and turn those into gems throughout the season. And then a new set comes out and I use those gems to play a bunch of sealed and rinse and repeat, right? And I then use the packs that you open and the rares that you draft and the things that you win to build my next standard deck, and I use that to accrue the gold, which, I turn into gems and things. So what this does is, and I guess probably the thing that I'm, most concerned about is a card will get rebalanced once a month. So a card that I've invested some wild cards in or some gems or whatever it might be can become completely obsolete because it gets rebalanced out of the format. and I lose that wild card. So if it's a banning, if it's Omnath gets banned, I get those wild cards back. Now it just gets rebalanced. I get nothing. And then if I want to play a competitive deck, I need to spend more. So it's a business. I get that. It's fine. But, you know, for me personally, it means that to be able to continue to play, to try to, you know, play competitively and grind that ladder on Arena, I need to invest more actual money, which is, that's where a lot of people are going to have that issue with. They're not looking at the game and growing the game and, you know, and if they happen to make a good profit off that because they've built this awesome thing, this competitive play, this online product that's flashy and bright and is bringing people into the game, it's a step towards, it's moving the needle towards the predatory side of it for me, and there's nothing I can do about that. I'll still continue to play the game, but it's going to turn some people off. I'm not at that point yet, I'm not saying that, but there are people that are further towards the door than what I am, that are going to see exactly what I've described and go, see you later. But I'm sure Wizards marketing and R&D department have gone, well, are we going the people that we lose versus the people that we retain and then the new people we bring in, is that worth it? But, you know, anybody who's done any sort of business study knows that it's like 10 times more expensive to bring new people in compared to retaining a customer. And this is a step away from customer retention in my mind. So that's the issue I've got with it. It's not so much that I'm going to flip the table and not play anymore, but I do have that issue. Everything else is okay. I like the idea of rebalancing, all the rest of it. The execution, I think, you know, they've taken the opportunity to, you know, bump up their revenue rather than, you know, fix the game. Like, fixing the game, that's great, but when fixing the game is the very thin veil that they've put over revenue raising, that, you know, just be honest. Honestly, that's that. I guess that's my point. Just be honest.
You're never gonna get that out of a business. That's not how businesses work. They're never gonna tell you, oh, we're making this change because we want to earn more money. That's not what they do. So that's for every
ethical
company.
Businesses do, and they'll say we want to raise revenue because we want to invest in this, right?
Yep.
And that's fine. Like, but revenue raising to make our shareholders happy is you know, is what I have issue with. And, you know, it's a US company, but capitalist.
That's how 99.9% of businesses work.
Like the more ethical ones will be more upfront, is what I'm saying. But anyway, that's a debate for a different podcast. But I guess
not a magic podcast.
I've said my piece, and I definitely stick by it. But I do want to just reiterate though, it's not so bad that it's putting me off. And I'm sure there's people out there that are very, very vocal in that camp that are, you know, it's Magic players. They love complaining, and you know, you've only got to scroll Twitter for 5 minutes to see that. It's not that bad. It's just, you know, I'm a little uneasy, I would say. I'm not outraged. I'm just a little uneasy. Yeah.
So a few sort of quick points just to sort of get, I guess, both of our opinions on. But one thing I heard on one of the podcasts this week that I thought was a very good point is, you know, Wizards release this new thing and people go, oh, no, you know, no one's going to play that. It's garbage. What a stupid idea. And then 5 minutes later, everyone loves it. You're a Magic Online player. You've played Magic Online for quite a long time. How much of a big change was it when they introduced leagues for drafting?
Enormous.
Yes.
It made drafting on Magic Online doable without having to sit there like Magic Online,
without locking in hours and hours where you had to stay there and play the draft. Going to a
store to play an F&M draft, you were there for 3 or 4 hours. It used to be like that with Magic Online. The league's complete game changer. Yes.
So when they announced the leagues on Magic Online, same reaction. Everyone's, oh, that's not real drafting. You're not drafting in the same pod. That's not proper drafting, all that sort of stuff. Within 5 minutes, everybody loves it. Best idea ever. So that was a good comparison that I heard today that I thought was really cool. And another complaint that we've heard from people.
I see that as a comparison to playing the ladder. I don't think it's, I think comparing this Alchemy to that is a complete false equivalent and I don't agree with that statement.
Well, I mean, okay, so look at it this way. You've got a standard that sucks. It's really boring, and people are getting turned off of the game and not playing it because it's really boring. So you can create
fixing it, love it. That part of it, absolutely love it.
So you create a new format that gets people still playing the game, keeps people still engaged.
But that's comparing a format to the structure. Yeah, they're two different things. So that's saying
they're the same thing.
No, that's like saying I really like this road, not the car that I'm driving on. So yeah, the deck that you play in a format is different to the format at large. So it's
but it's a major change to the way that you play the game. You know, you draft in paper and you play in your pod, and you draft on Magic Online or on Arena, and you don't play in your pod. They're completely different things. It's that separation of paper to digital.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that.
This is the same.
But no, I don't. I still don't agree. I understand what you're saying, that it's a change, and the change is largely good. But I don't agree with that specific example.
Sure.
I think that's a false equivalent.
All right. The other complaint hearing from people is the complexity level of, like, the increased complexity level. You know, you've got cards in paper that say one thing, you play them on Arena, they do a different thing, or all that sort of stuff. You know, you play them in Standard on Arena, they do one thing, you play them in Alchemy or Historic on Arena, they say different things, they do different things. Where do you sit on that?
I think that's a necessary evil because we're in a transition period between moving away from paper to purely digital, and implementing that change is going to take time. They can't just stop printing physical Magic cards. They have to or they can't just print digital only and expect people to engage with and play it. So whichever direction they're going in, this is a step in that transition. You can't just have like a bang cold turkey change. It's a transition. It's going to be awkward. I understand it. Yes, it does add that complexity, but it's a means to an end.
Yeah. I've always thought this argument was stupid. How long have we had text list cards for? You know, when they first did them, like Cryptic Command and things like that. Cryptic Command is one of the most complicated cards ever, and Wizards release a textless version of it that doesn't tell you what it does. What does
your textless reciprocate do? Because I don't know what mine does. Right? So yeah.
What does your what is it, Japanese version of Burning Shrine of
Burning Rage? Yeah.
No idea. We've had those issues for a very, very long time.
I remember playing Cryptic Command in the
still
Commander
play the
deck.
cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I played Cryptic Command in Commander deck with some new players, and I'm like, I'm going to do this and then do this. Yeah. And they're like,
no, you're not.
What? You know, there's no way a card does all that. And it's like, let me look it up on my phone. Yeah, exactly right. So
so that's, I've always thought that's a stupid excuse.
I agree.
Magic players pride themselves on being smart. That's why we play the game.
Even if we're not, we like to pretend we are.
Exactly. And so if you can figure out what textless cards or cards written in different languages or whatever do, you can play with cards that are different in different formats. It's no different to remembering, in Commander, this card is banned, but it's legal in Legacy and Vintage. And this card's banned in Modern, but it's legal in this format and this. It's no different to that.
Magic's
sort of
a complicated game. If you don't like it, there are a lot less complicated games out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I guess the other one is the separation of paper standard and effectively, like, this is the new standard on Arena. I sort of see going forward, obviously we're sort of coming out of the pandemic, but who knows what's going to happen next year with different strains. And, we're still getting, like, as I was telling Chewy before, my daughter's got COVID cases at her school. So we're still having a whole bunch of issues, and we're certainly not out of the woodwork and back to normal yet. But the general consensus seems to be that hopefully next year we'll get back to some sort of normality and get back to playing paper Magic. You seem to be of the opinion that Wizards are definitely heading down the line of moving away from printing paper cards and printing.
I don't know whether they will stop, because why would you completely sever a major revenue stream? So
yep.
I don't think they would do that. But they are going. But if they went, here's this whole new game with cards that have never existed and they're only on Arena, that wouldn't take straight away either. So that transitional period that I was alluding to, but just before, that's what we're in the throes of that at the moment. Whether we're at the start, somewhere in the middle, or getting towards the end, I don't know. But all of the changes that we've seen in the last 18 months in Arena have all been testing the waters, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, seeing what's possible or not possible within the Arena client. And, the last release for Historic, where they introduced digital only assets, that was the clearest sign, right? Where they are going to a digital platform, and now they can have a digital platform. And just like, other games, if something is overpowered or underpowered, they can tweak it because they haven't printed a physical copy of it. So absolute huge benefits for that. But it's just going to add there's that bit of confusion. And I could foresee a time in the next couple of years where there will be sets that come out, let's say Neon Dynasty or whatever. What's the next one? The new Capernia, right? Or maybe sets that we don't even know about yet, right? In years to come, where there'll be like a base set that gets printed both in paper and digitally. And then there is, just like we've seen with Crimson Vow after Midnight Hunt, there'll be the digital only supplement set. So you will get a completely different play experience in paper versus digital, because there's there's more scope for change, innovation, and fixing mistakes, rather than going, we either have to accept this or ban it. Now we can just, add mana to it, or add or reduce power and toughness, or whatever it might be. So that's cool. I like that that's an option. It just, how they implement it is going to be key. So if Magic becomes, this hybrid, rather than trying to serve both masters, if they just accept it and say, this is the paper and digital, and then this is just the digital, like Historic, that's great. Because the digital only assets into Historic were a really clear indication, because people were talking about playing in-store Historic tournaments, and printing digital only cards into that completely killed that. So it's impossible to do that unless you play with playtest cards. I won't use the other words, but the playtest cards to make a deck viable. So that's a really, really clear signpost. That's your gold uncommon in your draft pack to tell you that the direction that they're going, in my mind.
Yep. So I see in the future, like, I don't see Paper Magic going anywhere, not for a very long time. I think Wizards earns way too much money off of Commander players and even modern players and that sort of stuff.
Secret layers.
Secret layers and all that sort of stuff. So Paper Magic is not going anywhere. What I see going forward is Standard has sucked for ages from a high-level competitive point of view, and for coverage and all that sort of stuff. I see paper tournaments in the future being Pioneer, being Modern, potentially Legacy, or being limited formats, those sorts of things. And I see anything that would normally be Standard will be Alchemy instead, and played on Arena. For years and years and years and years, basically forever, Standard has been the flagship format for Wizards. All the Pro Tour and most of the Pro Tours, predominantly Pro Tours, were Standard format or Draft and Standard, that sort of thing. But Standard was the flagship. That was the main format that got played.
Yeah, but
and that was fine.
Standard didn't used to get solved as quickly as it has.
That was my exact point. So that was fine even 10 years ago. But like, I remember when we first started playing competitively at Card Heaven, there was like net decking was just starting, and the net decking then was like, oh, I found this list online, but it's, someone might have played 10 games with that deck. Like, it was nothing. You just found someone's random brew sort of thing. Apparently on their stream when they announced Alchemy, Wizards said that over 1 billion games have been played on Arena now.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. Like, that's probably more games of Magic just on Arena in the last couple of years than have been played in all the previous years combined. Like, that's an insane amount, which means for a small format like Standard, it's just going to get solved. There is no way, it doesn't matter how much resources Wizards puts into R&D and testing and all that sort of stuff, they cannot compete with the millions of games that get played as soon as a set releases. And so it is going to get solved, and they just can't find a way around that. And their way around that is, okay, well, let's just not play paper standard anymore, and let's just play this version that we can actually adjust, because we don't want to be banning cards every 2 seconds, because all that does is ruin a format and ruin people's confidence. So that's what I see going forward. I don't see paper going anywhere. I think there's definitely, we saw the GP Vegas, or not, it wasn't GP Vegas, the MTG Vegas event that happened a couple of weeks ago. There was like 4,000 people to that. There's certainly a desire for people to want to play paper Magic, and we've experienced that ourselves, the times that we've managed to get together recently and play. But I think for their flagship arena format going forward, it will be Alchemy, and I don't see it being standard, and I think standard on arena is going to disappear pretty quickly, and I don't think it's likely that we're going to see paper standard at a high level being played maybe ever again.
So, good solution,
that's my prediction.
I think, and for all the reasons that you've mentioned, and probably many more that we can't think of, but great from a coverage perspective, great from a play experience perspective. It would also be great if we had, continued promoted high level play to showcase this. So, I get that that's a great thing, but then the left hand and the right hand aren't exactly in sync with Wizards. So hopefully this is a step, and look, I'll put on my optimist hat. Hopefully this is a step between reuniting high level Magic play with some organization and some structure and things. So, it's going to make coverage more interesting. It's going to make things fresher. It's a necessary evil, or it's the best thing in the world. Most people will sit somewhere within that range, but I think it's something that everyone agrees probably needs to happen.
Yep, definitely. All right, we've talked about Alchemy more than enough. It'll get released basically tonight, so probably by the time you listen to this podcast, it may be live on Arena. So get into it and see what happens. I would assume people will just start off playing the same decks that they played in Standard and trying to find what works. But I would imagine over the next few weeks, every content creator is going to be doing content for Alchemy. So there's going to be plenty of lists getting around, and we may talk about that next week. But who knows? Next year for our Magic Beans tournament series, we may run some Alchemy events instead of Standard events. We'll see where the formats and things are at when it comes time to announce those. So stay tuned for that. All right. Couple of things on the way out. So we mentioned on our Envy stream that we were hoping to run an event just to sort of cap off the year. And I've just, before we started recording, created an event on Challenge for a historic brawl event. So we've had a few people asking for this throughout the year. Unfortunately, I doubt that any of the beans are actually going to be able to play in it. It's just obviously a very, very busy time of year, and with half of us trying to move house and things like that anyway, unlikely to happen. But we've put the event out there. We'll put the link in the show notes. We'll post it in the Discord, that sort of thing. Jump on, register, free to enter as always. We'll have some prizes up for grabs. We've got a bunch of like arena codes and things like that still to give away, so we may put those up for prizes as well, but we'll support it. We'll make sure we, do a bit of organising in the background and, get in there and play some historic brawl, because apparently that's a fun format especially if you're a Commander fan. So get in on that. Have you played any historic brawl, Chewy?
No, I've watched Tanker stream a couple of times,
yep.
And it does just look like, Commander Light or, the Arena Commander. And, which is fun. It looks cool, but I've not had a chance to play it myself, and I won't be able to play in this event. I'll be busy wicket keeping because being convinced to come out of retirement for a few weeks. But it's went to training tonight. Hitting them pretty well, just quietly. So we'll see how we go.
We'll see some runs on the board.
Yeah, it'd be nice. We'll see. I don't know how much running I've got in me. That's my problem. So,
you just hit 4s and 6s every ball. You'll be fine. You don't have to run at all.
So in the last season that I played, my high score for the year was 45, but I didn't hit a boundary.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So, last couple of things. So we're currently running a survey. There is a link that's been posted in the Discord, I think in the announcements channel. Jump in on that. We did the same thing last year. We just want to get a bit of feedback from all our awesome people out there that listen to us and watch our content, that sort of thing. So jump in, fill out the survey. It literally takes you 2 minutes, and if you put your name in on the survey, you'll go into the draw for something we will give away to you to whoever wins that. So we may close that off next week. We'll work that out. But yeah, get in and get it done. Don't forget about it. And next week's episode. So next week, 17th of December, so next Thursday, we're going to do a live stream episode. So we recently did a stream into Discord with us with our cameras on, and had people sort of listen in and watch us as we recorded the podcast. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We're going to give it a go on Twitch. We probably won't actually record it as a podcast. I don't think it's going to work very well. I think it's just going to be a very casual night of just general chatting about the year that we've had, and a bit of a break up for Christmas effectively, and that will likely see us out for the year. The following week is basically, I think it's like Christmas Eve or something like that the following week, so that's unlikely to happen, and then we'll all be off on Christmas break. So we may get an episode out over Christmas, who knows. We will be catching up, but we'll see how we go for that. But yeah, when we do this stream, make sure you jump in and watch us on Twitch. And we've got some commander decks that we've been hanging on to for a while that you got off of Pat the last time you went and saw him. So I think we're going to give away some of those.
The 5 Strixhaven precons. So we're going to give those away on stream.
So I was thinking what we might actually do is do it as a Twitter giveaway and a stream giveaway. So we may put some up to give away on Twitter. Maybe 1 or 2, and then the rest we'll give away during the stream.
So it's possible for one person to win 2 decks. That's so much value. So make sure you join the Twitter giveaway and tune in on the stream to increase your chances. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's all from us tonight. The usual wrap up. If you want to get in on our events or you want to be part of our awesome community, best place to be is in our Discord. Jump in there and say good day. We've had a few people joining recently, which is awesome to see. There is still our merch store, which you can buy some Magic Beans gear, hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, mouse pads, all that sort of stuff. Go and jump on that. The link is in our show notes as always. Go and check out our sponsors, jpmtgbazaar.com.au. Grab yourself some bargains on their daily auctions and let them know the Beans sent you. And then search us up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. All of those places, we are Magic Beans or Magic Beans Cast. So just search for us, find us on there, and give us a follow. If you want to find me on Twitter, I am at Peace Inc. Chewy, you are?
At Chewy MTG.
Very good. So that's it for this week. Thank you, as always, for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.